What's up, guys? You are on the air and off the books with Beth Ann and Samantha, and today we are going to be talking about the creepiest book of 2023.
That's right.
The creepiest one. It is called Where He Can't Find You by Darcy Coates.
Yes, and this book is out already, I believe, right?
Yes.
So you guys can go and put your holds on it. It'll be in the library.
the bear.
It'll be at the library. And so you guys should really pick this up. So before we go really far, we definitely... so we got these as ARCs.
Yes, from Sourcebooks.
Yes, thank you, Sourcebooks. You guys are awesome for that, and this book was phenomenal.
They never let us down when they send us ARCs.
Oh, man, no, because this book... I read this book in 2 days. And this book is almost 400 pages, I think, or more.
I think it's 390 something.
Yes. And it was so good. And it's technically a YA horror, but I feel like it goes beyond that and it's still suitable for that adult vibe about it.
It was giving It by Stephen King.
Yes. A big, absolutely.
Bikes and all.
Yes. The very beginning of it is very creepy, atmospheric, so good. So this is what got us to really notice this book, is this description. So Samantha's do you want me to read it or do you want to read it?
I'll do it in my spooky voice.
Okay.
Okay.
Get ready. Buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. Spooky voice.
Don't walk alone, or the Stitcher will find you. Abby Ward lives in a town haunted by disappearances. People vanish, and when they are found, their bodies have been dismembered and sewn back together in unnatural ways. But is it the work of a human killer? Or something far darker? Don't stay out late, or the Stitcher will take you. She and her younger sister live by a strict set of rules designed to keep them safe, which is why it's such a shock when Hope is taken. Desperate to get her back, Abby tells the police everything she knows, but they claim their hands are tied. Suspicious. Don't close your eyes, or the Stitcher will remake you. With every hour precious, Abby and her friends are caught in a desperate game of cat and mouse. They have to get Hope back, quickly, before too much of her is cut away. Snip, 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 snip. And before everything they care about is swallowed up by the darkness waiting in the tunnels beneath the home they thought they knew.
So, very good, by the way.
Thank you. I've been practicing.
Little applause there. So I read this description, and this description gives you a lot. But while I was reading this book, all of this information still came as a massive shock to me.
Yeah,
you know that Hope is going to be taken, but when that crap happens, you're freaking no way did she get taken. I didn't even see that coming, and it's freaking into the description.
And it's so creepy reading this book at night too, because even though this is YA, it's a very descriptive. It does not hold back with the gore and the nasty,
the details, and like I said, the atmosphere of it. Because it's not just about, even though she gives you a lot in the synopsis, there's still so much more there to grab onto because of, the woods surrounding the town, the lore of the town, the feeling of all of the people, and, the weight of this situation that's weighing on these people as far as, this essential serial killer coming in and taking all these people away. This serial killer isn't just snatching these people away and just killing them. He's literally undoing them and putting them back together like weird toys and dolls and things like that. And this is where it's going to get kind of spoilery. So if you really want to read this, I recommend that you kind of pause here and then come back, because there's just so much to say about this book, and I don't want you guys to be ruined for it.
And you know what? It reminded me a lot of What We Harvest by Anne Freistadt, along the lines of when the Stitcher is coming and he's about to kill.
Oh,
the animals get deformed.
Right, there are signs.
Yeah, the lights go out, electronics stop working, and that was very, like, What We Harvest to me.
There's, like, a buildup of, like, this anticipation that she puts behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So, like, they know that somebody's getting ready to be taken based off of the things that are occurring around them.
Yeah.
So the whole town, like, cars won't work, so everybody rides bikes. You know, people live kind of, like, in the past, even though they're part of, like, society now.
Right.
So your phone stops working. You're not able to send text messages, so they can't really readily talk to their friends. And it is a group of...
it's like 5...
Yeah, 5. They're teens, but they're
4.
actually young adults, more along the lines of 17, 18, 19.
Right.
So they're more on the older side of the track and not really young. And the things that have happened to them in this town because of the Stitcher are horrendous.
Yeah.
Like, Abby and Hope's mom was affected by the Stitcher, and the woman is scary enough as, like, her own storyline.
Yeah.
Like, she freaking creeped me out.
She's, like, scratching at the walls, like, with her bloody
like trying
nubs.
to spider climb up the curtains. And, like, when she's, like, at one point, Abby's, like, peeking into the room to check on her mother, because her mother is obviously going insane. Like, she's not mentally well.
Yeah.
But it's causing her to be more, like, supernaturally, like, altered, because she acts like the kid that crawls out of the well. Like, backwards, running at you with mouth open. Like,
yeah.
And so at one point, Abby's, like, opening the door to peek into the room, and her mother is literally sitting on top of the freaking, like, cabinet, like,
I know.
hunched up like a crazy monster, peering at her. And all I could think was, like, oh my gosh,
the dedication for her and Hope to just, like, stay in that house with her mom is like, I'd be like, nah, sorry, mom.
Lock this woman away. Like,
we're taking you away.
and you don't understand why they do this and don't ask for help until later in the book. And they hide her away and try to take care of her. And she gets worse and worse as the Stitcher, like, really becomes active.
Yeah.
And so that's what the appeal is too, is that at the beginning of the book, you're really not sure if it's just like this serial killer situation, because right off the bat, there's this guy who's a suspect. And he's real sketchy, real creepy.
Charles Vickers.
Yes. And he's, like, very smug and satisfied about his, like, tie-in that everybody thinks he's the Stitcher, because he plays into that fear with people and everybody avoids him. They, like, make, like, I don't know, like, tributes to his home and, like,
offerings.
Yeah, because they're like, don't take me, you know what I mean? Like, don't kill me. But the police can find no evidence against this man.
Yeah.
So, like, you're not sure if it's actually, like, him or if, like, he's just playing into this, like, role because he loves the attention that he's getting from being charged.
I also think the cops were, like, way too scared to even, like, super investigate that house anyway.
Because every time that they would go... Well, right. Because every time that they would, like, try to get really involved, something would happen to them.
Yeah.
And so they just become this, like, silent, like, bone silent. And you can, like, feel and hear the silence while you read the book in the town. Like, they're ready to cover up the fact that the Stitcher is a thing. And live in, like, this, like, ignorant bliss. And... it's so, like, nerve-wracking because when somebody is taken, it's almost like it doesn't affect them anymore.
Right.
Even though the person is going to be, like, completely dismembered.
Yeah.
And, like, just thrown out. Just, however, like, you're a kite now. Like, you're
a trampoline.
Yeah, like, and it's awful. And, like I said, okay, spoilers. So, one of the main guys, I think his name is Reese.
Yeah.
Which is the first thing that Samantha said when she started.
Reese, what are you doing
What are you doing here? You shouldn't be here. Is it? Shoot. Oh, Abby and Reese are obviously like a couple, or trying to be. There's a budding romance here, and it's very sweet, and it really adds to the dynamic of the story, which I appreciated because it wasn't one note. And so they're like kind of like all each other has essentially. Because his parents were taken by the Stitcher when he was really little. Because there was, like, this fog and they were driving to try to get out of town.
And if you don't like blood and gore and you're gonna, like, vomit, plug your ears.
Yes, it's pretty crazy.
It's very graphic.
He was, like, 5 or 6 or something like that, I think.
He was a little bit older, and his little... kind of spoiler, his little brother was
Right, which
5
you
or
don't know
6.
that until later in the book.
Very end.
That all 3 of these were taken because his mom and dad leave because there's somebody outside of the car and it's like all fog, and then they don't come back, and he's trying to hold his brother down and say, no, don't go out there, it's okay, mommy, daddy will come back, but his brother gets out of his grip and runs out of the house, and next thing he knows, he's found a few days later, still in this car, this kid, and his parents are literally sewn into a skin sack, hanging from a freaking tree. And his brother. Pieces of their body are just sewn all together in this bag, dripping with blood, guts.
Bones and all their organs are
just inside the sack.
Skin bag.
And that's how they find his family. And he's trapped in this car. And, if he would have stepped out of the vehicle, that would have been it for him. And so now he's being raised by his grandma, who's obviously suffering from dementia. And so he's essentially taking care of her and not able to, he's essentially living on his own, and the only thing that he has left is Abby. And so the only thing in her world that's left is really her sister Hope and then Reese. And so from there, that's where they decide that at some point, they either have to escape this town, which is impossible because people who do are driven back from madness. Right. And also, eventually you just die. You just get taken, and you don't last. Yeah. So what really catapults the story forward is the fact that Hope gets taken. Yes. And she's, ripped bloodily through the window. He snatches her right out her second story window. But come on,
Hope. Don't open the window because you're hot.
Yes.
Girl, you got a full-blown serial killer monster.
Yes, and that's another thing, is that the cool thing about this book is there are illustrations inside the book as well, and there are different graphics throughout, and each section is labeled with rules that they have about the Stitcher that they abide by, and Hope always be breaking rules.
Yeah, Hope was the rule breaker. She had it coming.
She really honestly did, and I think that's why in the synopsis it already says that she's taken, because it's very clear that she's different than everybody else.
I didn't even read the synopsis, so I didn't even know she was going to be taken.
Dude, I knew she was going to be taken, and when it happened, I was about in tears. I was like, no, Hope! Out of everybody!
I thought it was going to be Connor. Connor is this, sweet, sweet boy.
I love Connor.
Does he have, OCD, or does he...
I think he has these weird tendencies to that, yes.
He is adorable, and he is sweet.
There's a lot of representation in this book, too.
My favorite part is when he is making a sandwich, and he is just,
obsessively.
He is obsessively making a sandwich and describing it as if he is at a 5-star restaurant. And he's like, I've got my ham and I'm going to put it on my fancy bread.
And it's just this processed ham that he got from the corner store. And
I thought he was going to be taken, and I was going to be distraught for the rest of the book. I was like, not him.
I liked him and,
Raya?
Yes. Rhea or Raya?
I think
Must
Raya.
Be Raya, yeah.
And that was the scariest part of the book for me was kind of Raya's situation with the Stitcher when she was closing the pizza shop. And her mom...
I remember that.
Her mom is... Raya knows, the Stitcher is here. She's freaking out waiting for her mom.
The lights are flickering. She's closing this pizza shop up by herself.
Her mom is flickering her car headlights inside the store, and Raya's like, what the heck? And she's running out let me in the car.
Well, have you ever been in a situation where you're alone at night and you're flipping the lights off in the house and you feel like there's something standing freaking behind you breathing down your neck? Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? That ominous feeling something is literally in this room with me. And it gives me chills thinking about it. Something is in this room with me that I cannot see. And, you're just, moving, and then, you do the whole, body snatcher thing where you have to run up the stairs and, flip all the lights on and then, dive under the covers in the bed. Because all the arms are going to, rip you out from under the bed and, take you away.
Yeah. And
that's the situation it felt like to me.
That's what was happening. And then Raya's mom is like, who was standing behind you?
In the room.
And I was
you were just no! She was this close from being taken that night.
Yeah. And they all kind of were. It went through the whole, process. I think he was, the Stitcher was obviously messing with them.
I think so, too. Or trying to gauge out, easy pickings, essentially. And
it was so scary.
It was so phenomenally good. It really was. And you guys really have to read this book. And there's so much more to this book that we could say.
So what my only complaint was Jen and her dad. I felt like they didn't take their characters far enough. Like, they could have been left out of the story and it would have been exactly the same. I wanted there to be some, like, reason that her dad was there.
Oh, drawn into the town?
Yeah, and not just like, oh, I'm here and then now I'm leaving.
I really honestly think that her dad coming was an excuse to add in Jen to the story.
Yeah. And we didn't really even need Jen in the story, I don't think.
I thought the only reason why I liked her in the story is because she brought a dynamic of doubt.
Yeah.
And she helped me question the validity of these people.
Yeah.
Because her coming in as a new kid to this crazy town that, like, sucks you in and never lets you go, and then them trying to say that, oh yeah, by the way, we have this man-eating, like, monster here that kills people and then leaves their bodies laying around for us to find in weird shapes.
Yeah.
And she's like, you're just bullying me. Like,
yeah.
What is freaking wrong with you people? But she begins to, like, uncover that as, like, you uncover that. All the missing posters, the way that nobody reacts when people are taken, the way that people are really, like, down and out, and how the police are actually poorly handling the situation.
Yeah.
Which makes me really mad that they didn't search deeper than they did inside of what's-his-name's house.
It makes me wonder if they did, and each time they did, that's why those cops went missing. Because they discovered the tunnels to the mines, which is where the Stitcher is living. He's living in the mines.
Yes.
And that's why they die and they disappear.
Yeah. Because
they get sucked into the mines and Stitcher rips them apart, stitches them back together.
It is so wild. And then the monster himself, and it actually is a monster. This isn't one of those, like, books where it like pulls you into, like, this supernatural monstery thing and then doesn't deliver, or, like, it's not a Riley Sager.
I was literally about to say the same thing.
All the shade to everybody out there. You love Riley. That's fine. Eat it up. That's fine. Okay, but for me, that is not my favorite author, because every time I go in, there's never what's promised to me.
Yeah.
And it's always a psychological thing and never a real monster.
Yeah, I think that, I'm pretty sure that every one of his books is like that.
Except for House Across the Lake, which was a literal roller coaster ride of every single trope you could ever possibly cram into a thriller horror story. All of it happened. Murder, ghosties, more murder, crazy possessions.
More ghosties.
That was literally the wildest ride of my entire life, that book was. I did not enjoy it.
I have like another Darcy Coates book at home, and I'm gonna pick it up and read it. Because I just wonder, because we did try one of her other books, and we didn't get super into it because it was kind of confusing.
I'm trying to think of what it was. Let me look.
The Whispering Dead.
Oh, I haven't even started it yet.
Yeah, okay, so I jumped into it. I was a little bit confused, but I don't know if it's because, like, when I was reading it, I was distracted or whatever, but I'm definitely going to try to read one of her
And that's
books
interesting
again.
Because that's one of her most popular series, I think.
Yeah.
So I'll start it at some point.
I think I have one called Hunted.
Oh,
it's like a green-black forest cover.
With little lines all over it.
I think
red lines.
I don't know. I think there's like a girl running.
Oh.
I don't know. I could be wrong.
I'm not sure. This is the only Darcy Coates book I've read.
She's got a lot of books, and they all get pretty good ratings.
This one from us, for me, it gets a 5 out of 5. 1,000%. I would say a 4.8 out of 5. Like I said, there's always going to be something that you want more of, or like that you want more development. You know, the twist was a twist for me, but I could have been a little more twisty.
I wanted it to be, that was my only complaint. That's why I subtracted 0.2 points, 4.8 out of 5, because I wanted it to be something like totally insane that you would like never think. Yeah. Because I had in my head that so you meet a lady in the, kind of towards the end, I would say, that is the only survivor of the Stitcher.
Yes, that was crazy.
And then she introduces us. Well, she doesn't introduce us, but she sets it up to where they meet the cop that was dealing with the Stitcher at the time.
Yeah.
And the way they describe him, the very first sentence, they say he's extremely tall, like abnormally tall. And I was like, that's him. He's the Stitcher. Because why else would they say that?
And see, that's what was so awesome to me, is that I kept going back and forth realizing that the Stitcher had been happening for like hundreds of years. Mm-hmm. And
I just thought it was like a repeat serial killer. That's honestly what I thought. And like because they were in the mines, that's why they thought it looked like a monster, just because of like the shadows and
the tricks that it was playing and everything like that. But I couldn't explain the animals away.
Yeah,
the
I didn't
animals
understand
would
that.
mutate, and the string going under the ground.
The only thing that I was thinking of was maybe somebody like poisoned like the waters and to make it like this giant ghost story.
True, like to cover up, to make people afraid.
That would have been a really good twist, though. If it
really
like took it that way.
Yeah.
Like, I think either way, it would have been really good because like the whole story and like the descriptions of the Stitcher and like what he did were like
super spot on. And them like falling into situations where they stumble upon these remains of people and like past like Stitcher victims.
Yeah.
So good, because you could really just cut the tension. And when she says, like, this is very reminiscent of it, I agree, because of the way that they deal with the monster in the end and the eyes. And
it's so funny because it's like the red string and then like the red balloon.
Yes. I think it's heavily influenced. Yeah. Or maybe not heavily, but like it's a nod in that direction. Mm-hmm. But it's not obscene, overdone. It's not
a copy.
It's not a copy at all. It's very unique in and of itself, but it gives just enough of that like tension and like that feeling to make you freak out. And that's what I really love it, because...
And you don't have to read a 100-page description of the town.
Yeah, you don't have to read literally over 1,000 pages to enjoy the story.
Yeah.
It's just all tension, all build up, all the good stuff. It is so fantastic. And there's so much more that we could say about it. Like we still haven't talked about a lot of the things that are happening in this book, about like some of the twists that happen with the surviving victim of the Stitcher. Yeah. Talking about like what she had to give up to get out. Yeah. That freaking floored me. Yeah, I'm not going to say it on here. But when she did that and you like realize like what happened, I almost passed out. I was like, the blood rushed to my face. I was like, no, don't go. Don't go into the mines. Like, and then they just run in there, and like the claustrophobia of the mines. Yeah. And them crawling into these like really tight spaces with these backpacks on and like getting cut by these rocks, and like, dude, I was so like out of breath. I was like, please get out of here.
The Stitcher's hand just poking through random holes.
Oh God, in the ground, and like trying to like, whoo, it just makes me sweat.
I picture like a kind of like a chicken.
Oh
chicken
my
leg,
God.
But like ginormous and like blue, white, gray.
Yes, because have you seen those like stories online where it's talking about like, I don't know if it's like the creepypastas, but there's this thing that was going around for a while that was saying the primal fear of human beings and why it is that we are so afraid of like white-faced, featureless, long-limbed creatures that run after you roaring in the night. Yeah. And this embodies that very well.
Like why are we scared of that? Like what
happens?
Why don't we look at like normal people and be like, I'm scared of how this looks?
Like what triggers in your brain that is incorrect and like causes that fear to like ripple through your body and stuff?
I guess maybe like if you were in a community of creepy-looking creatures and you were a creepy-looking creature yourself, it would probably be normal, and you'd be like, "Oh, my friend,
are you a creepy-looking critter?
my friend Slender Man over here."
Oh man,
it would probably be fine. That's probably why, because you know how like they always say like people are like drawn to like people that look like them.
Oh yeah,
that's probably like that kind of thing. Like, why are you gonna, like, be like, oh, you look so nice and friendly to somebody who's got, like, 10-foot long arms?
Oh, God.
Probably
that's
not.
my worst fear.
Let's be honest.
That's really triggering for me. And this is that monster. Like,
it freaks me out, too, because I remember when Slender Man was, like, a huge thing, and, like, the Slender Man game was, like, going around, and I would, like, watch videos, and I'd be like, no.
It's too much. It really
because
is.
then, like, especially, like, when you live by a woods, you're just like, okay, am I going to look out here and I'm going to see Slender Man
just
chilling?
standing in the woods.
We're going to see the
waving
Stitcher
at me.
just, like, waving his chicken legs?
Oh, gosh. Oh, man. Yeah, that reaching up part and, like...
And I just picture him
happens.
moving just, like, so slow, but, like...
Oh, stop!
Like, you know, like the piano fingers.
Oh, yes. It reminds me of that cover of Insidious with the key fingers and how they're long and, like, claw-like and reaching out.
Yeah.
Ooh, this is a fantastic book that you should absolutely read.
I just picture him, like, standing, like, he's, like, 10 feet towering over, like, a table with, like, knives, just, like...
Oh, gosh,
just,
like cutting people up.
Yeah, cutting people up, and he just has to, like... I don't know. It's just... bleh.
It is
just,
so
like,
disturbing.
holding up his, like, skin. Oh, look, it's a little blankie.
Add that to the collection.
hang that in the pile.
In the trophy room.
Woo-hoo.
It is great. And this is a good book to round out your spooky season. I think you guys should absolutely pick this up.
I don't even think, like, I have, like, a book suggestion of, like, something that's like this. But, like, if you aren't this into, like, gore and, like, you don't want to be this scared, I would suggest Anne Freistat's book, What We Harvest.
Yeah. It's a good mix of thriller horror that isn't as...
She also has a new book coming out.
Yeah. It's detailed, but not like this.
January?
She does, yeah. Anne Freistat is going to be releasing, No, you made me forget.
The Vanishing, or...
No, we're going to mess it up, and she's going to be upset with us.
We have to get the title right.
Because our girl Anne deserves the right title. And we're getting ready to read that, A Place for Vanishing, by Anne Freistat. And it's a haunted house story with some romance in it.
Yeah.
And obviously it's going to be good.
Yeah.
So definitely look for that. We're going to be reading it soon.
What We Harvest was phenomenal.
It was very good. And I agree with Samantha. I would recommend What We Harvest because it's just enough horror and it's creepy enough to give you that scare, but it's not as disgusting. It's not it's disgusting in its own way. Let me rephrase that. But it's a lot different of a feeling than this is. This is more like there's blood everywhere, and it describes stenches of blood, and it describes pools of blood, and like weird ways that human bodies aren't supposed to go back together, and like things like that. So there's a other recommendation if you want to ease into horror. What We Harvest, then maybe Where He Can't Find You. And What We Harvest is also a YA, so that's a good transition point. And like I said, I recommend if you have read it, you should read this.
Yeah.
I want to hear what you have to say.
It'll be a lot easier of a read.
It probably will, yeah. And I think that you'll appreciate the inspiration behind what Darcy Coates put in. Yeah. I don't know if she intended. Darcy, if you would like.
Would you like to be on our podcast?
Yeah, if you'd like to be on the podcast and let me ask that question to you, because that would be so interesting to know if she's inspired by Stephen King at all.
Yeah.
So Kaylee, if you're listening, I know you've read it. You should read Where He Can't Find You.
Yes.
And whoever else has read it too. So read it, guys. This was a really great book.
12
out of 10. Yeah.
Even though I give it a 4.8 out of 5, I'm talking about it now, and now I'm giving it a 12 out of 10.
Yeah, we changed our minds. It's great. You should definitely pick this up, and if you're not picking it up, what are you even doing?
Yeah.
You're not doing the correct things. That's true.
Listen to us. When have we ever led you astray?
Don't
Never.
answer that.
But, so coming up, we've got, let's see.
A couple different thises and that's.
You guys are going to get to know our ATD staff, our adult and teen department, which is who we work with. And that'll be coming out on November 23rd.
Yes.
So hopefully we can, like, round up almost everybody, or as many people as we can, you're going to figure out, you're going to find out their favorite reads, what they're currently reading.
Book talk with staff.
Yes. It's going to be the most fun. And then, December 7th, we will be reading Masters of Death. Not...
What?
Masters of Death.
Oh.
Masters...
I didn't even catch that. Masters of Death by Olivia Blake.
We will not be reading the Masters of Death. We will be reading the Masters of Death by... I think it's Olivia.
Oh, Olivia.
Olivia?
I'm sorry. We're really bad with names and stuff. We really try to do our best. I hope you guys know that.
We think it's Olivia Blake.
Olivia Blake.
Yes,
I
and
keep
which
calling
is
her Olivia.
insanely popular, and I got this book a few months ago, and the cover is stunning, and I don't even want to touch it because I want to display it forever. And
I have to still purchase this book because the holds list is at 800 billion miles long for all of the copies we own.
Yeah, so if you're hearing this now, put that book on hold.
Get on the
now,
hold train. Toot toot.
So you can read this and then listen to our podcast.
And then our interview.
Oh, yes. Well, they'll be hearing the interview the week before this podcast.
Oh, just kidding.
So normally when we do interviews, we wait a month to upload, but we decided that's a little bit long for like the authors to wait for them to come out to like kind of help promote them. So we're going to be starting to do interviews and then releasing them the week after. So normally you wouldn't be hearing our interview with Hannah Kaner. We're not sure how to pronounce it yet. Normally you'd be hearing it after November 9th when this releases, but now you'll be hearing it November 3rd. So
and now we've let you know all of our secrets because we record everything in advance.
Yes.
So I get mixed up, and that's why Samantha is supposed to be the one talking at the end and not me, because I mess everything up.
And let's be honest, we can't be doing this stuff live because we'd probably have been fired 27 times by now.
Probably.
But it's fine.
That's the reality of it. But if you've listened to our interview with For God Killer, you should pick up that book if we don't do any spoilers or anything like that.
It's a
like
quick read, and it's a really good fantasy.
It's great. It's straight up my alley. It's phenomenal. It's so good with like character development and tension, and I mean, there's just so many amazing things in here, and it gives you the satisfaction of reading a really great like straight fantasy, without 800 billion extra pages of like world building and stuff like that. Yeah, fluff. So this is a good break in between The Way of Kings and then Word of Radiance. This is that moment of deep breath before unless you want
to go big and then go small,
go home. Yeah, whatever. I mean, this is fantastic, and I believe that I think Sunbringer is the name of the second book that's coming out, and that's going to be coming out in January. And this is actually going to be a trilogy and not a duology. So if you skipped over that whole interview, don't read this book and go back.
Yes.
What are you even, like I said, what are you even doing?
So you got to read Where He Can't Find You by Darcy Coates. You've got to read God Killer by Hannah Kaner.
And also Masters of Death by Olivia Blake.
Start that now.
And then go ahead and read Yumi and the Nightmare Painter.
Yes. 10 out of 10. Do it.
Yeah.
And then let us know. You can email us at offthebooks@khcpl.org. Tell us your thoughts on these books. Tell us what you're reading. Give us book suggestions. Do all the things. And we hope you guys have a great rest of your week.
Bye.
Bye.